All right, everybody. Well, joining us this week on the show in the music world, we're always happy to have some independent artists joining us. And this gentleman right now from Orange Park, Florida, doing some progressive rock and some big things in that world. And we're going to talk a little bit more with our new friend, Tony Smotherman. How you doing, Tony?
Very good, David. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being here. How's the weather down in Florida where you're at?
Well, it's mid-October. It's supposed to be kind of chilly, but it's not. You know, it's about 90 degrees out there, so...
Oh, yeah.
Indoor.
Tony, let's get to know you here for our viewers. I always like to kind of start, well, at the beginning, you know, and your first taste of music kind of came at a young age when you were introduced to Bach. Is that correct?
That's right. Yes, it was a high school teacher of mine. A junior high school teacher who had some music of Bach playing in the room when I came in, and I said, "Who is that?" But that's Johann Sebastian Bach. I just remember it being just attracted me right away when I heard what was happening with the violins and everything. It wasn't like hearing just pretty classical music or something. It was something that really took me away when I heard it. I was really amazed by it.
Well, and so much so that you got yourself into learning classical guitar, right?
I did. I talked to my parents, and I said, Mom, Dad, I want to play music. And they said, well, that's great, son. What do you want to do? I said, well, I want to play classical guitar. And they said, are you feeling all right? And I said, yeah, I'm feeling great, you know. They said, well, it's kind of a different kind of thing, don't you think? And I said, yeah, I think so. He said, you sure you don't want to play piano? You got long fingers. You're a great piano player. I said, no, I really want to play classical guitar. So, lo and behold, a couple months later, I ended up getting a classical guitar. But we lived too far out into the sticks, into the woods here in the South, to be able to get guitar lessons. So I tried to figure out that stuff on my own for a long time, which is nearly impossible to do. So,
but you did it, and quite well, and we'll show some of your videos a little bit later on. But even so well that you actually teach now. Is that correct?
I do. I have a huge roster of students. I teach a lot of different genres of music also. So after that certain point, I was able to start learning how to read music. I spent a lot of time doing it, literally 7, 8, 9 hours a day for a long time. So I started soaking in a lot of this classical music from other composers also.
Right. Well, you've certainly worked hard at that, and you know, we can go on YouTube and see some of your lessons and everything. So that's great that you've been able to accomplish that. But more with yourself, though, you've got some bragging rights going on in the music world as far as guitar playing. You've toured with some great people. Share that with us.
Well, 2006, I had some friends of mine said, hey, look, you want to get out to Jacksonville Beach as soon as you can because Buddy Miles is here. We're doing a rehearsal with him for a couple shows. Bring your guitar, bring your amplifier, set up, and if he invites you to play with us, you've got a great opportunity. So I did. I brought my stuff out, and I remember grabbing my Band of Gypsy CD, and throwing it in the CD player just in case we had to play any of that stuff. And this was fast forward years later when I started playing electric guitar. And I got there, and he looked at me and goes, well, are you gonna sit in with us? I said, yeah, I think so. So he goes, bring your stuff in. We got set up and we started playing, and I remember when he pointed at me to take a solo, I could see him, he was kind of really watching me intently, and after that he stopped the band. Everybody stopped. They were looking at me like, you're in big trouble, man. He doesn't stop like that. He looked at me and goes, young man, I haven't heard anybody play guitar like that in a long time. Can you go ahead and crank your amp up a little louder and let's take it from your solo again? Yes, sir, let's do it. So we did, and after that, he said, what are you doing for the next couple weeks? I said, nothing. He goes, you want to go on tour? I said, I would love to. Pack, my bags are packed. So that turned into a 3.5-year, almost 4-year thing between me and him.
That's an awesome experience and an awesome story. And, of course, for those who don't know, Buddy Miles is the drummer for Jimi Hendrix, right?
That's right, and the singer of Santana's band for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. There's some others in there, too. Name a couple.
Oh, yeah. I was fortunate enough to actually open up for Adrian Legg, the acoustic wizard. I was a huge fan of his. I remember being younger and just listening to his music nonstop, and then had the opportunity to do some shows with him. And The first one went really great, and we did a couple more. That was a lot of fun. Richie Kotzen, who was in the band Poison, another favorite guitar player of mine. I got to do some shows with him. He was incredible. A recent guy who's doing really well named Guthrie Govan in his band The Aristocrats with Marco Miniman and Brian Beller. We just opened for them a couple weeks ago as well.
Okay.
I've also got to open for Rick Derringer on a couple different occasions and got to know Rick very well, and his drummer Tom Curiel, and also opened up for Leon Wilkerson. So it's kind of strange.
You got quite a resume going on there.
But it's kind of strange because although I did was raised in the South, my musical tastes are so much different than Southern rock. But I end up playing with a lot of these guys, so it's a lot of fun. You know, they're legends.
Well, congratulations for all that success. It certainly shows in your ability to play and doing all these awesome shows you've been doing. I mean, I'd say we'll get to the YouTube thing. You've got lots going on. But let's talk a little bit more about what you've actually put down that's going to stick around for the rest of the world to hear, because you've got 3 albums out today. Is that right?
I do. I have 3 of them. My sophomore effort was an album called Embracing the Spirit, which was, I was 18 years old at the time. I got an Indian sitar, so I started experimenting with that thing in a little city called Middleburg, Florida, which is home to more banjos than guitars, or especially sitars.
Yeah, right.
So they're looking at me like I'm completely nuts. And I remember even getting a banjo and actually attempting to play a lot of Eastern music on a banjo. They thought I was crazy, but I'm like that. I like trying different things. So yeah, that's my first album was Embracing the Spirit, and then the second one was called The Light Within, and I was lucky enough to get 2 really cool guests on that album. One was a keyboard player from a band called Dream Theater. His name's Derek Sharinian, and the second one was an Indian guitar player named Vishwa Mohan Bhatt. He was on Eric Clapton's Crossroads DVD, the very first one. He actually toured with Clapton for a while, and this guy was a student of Ravi Shankar, but he plays the guitar with a slide, and he plays traditional Indian classical music. So he actually guested on the second album. And the third one is called Universal Melody, and that one has the keyboardist from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Vitaly Kupri, doing a lot of the keyboards on there. So I always like to bring in guests on every album, because I feel that I see a lot of artists that do, just have their set band every time. But to me, an album is a thing to celebrate. Bring in friends, bring in people that you like and love, and make music with them. To me, that's what a solo album is about. Not about all about me.
Well, that's great. And, like you and I talked off camera before we started this, and, I mentioned the word eclectic to you. You certainly, just in the conversation, are sharing the obvious, classic rock, progressive, world music, and a young Greek fellow from the South. There's a lot of mix in there, right?
It is. I'm actually Armenian, and growing up, my mother used to play a lot of Middle Eastern music, and I think a lot of that stuck with me. And never consciously, but unconsciously, when I started playing music, a lot of the Middle Eastern scales and these kind of things really popped. I have my mother to thank for that.
Well, that's awesome. And, again, it definitely shows in your guitar playing. I mean, for someone to, I've taken the time to watch some of your stuff. All the stuff you're talking about, you can really see it in there. In fact, you've done so well with, your albums and your teaching and your touring that it's actually gotten you into the endorsement world, isn't it?
It has. I have a great endorsement deal with my favorite guitar company, a French guitar company called VGA Guitars, owned by Mr. Patrice Vigier, and they make absolutely the greatest guitar I've ever played. I mean, it's such a joy to pick up that instrument every time, and very inspiring. And it's a very long process to create the guitar. You will wait years for one. I didn't have to wait years, but their process is a very serious process to make the guitar what it is. And also, DR Strings has been wonderful to me for over 10 years now. They've been putting strings on my guitars. It's a wonderful thing. And an amplifier company out of Chicago named Revolt Amplifiers. They built me a custom amplifier. They asked me if I could have any kind of sound, what would I want? We talked, and they sent me some prototypes and changed some things around. And finally, they built the ultimate amplifier for me. I couldn't be happier. So,
Nice.
very thankful for my endorsement company.
Well, Tony, that's great, and you know, I can see, but I can hear the sincere excitement and passion in your voice when you're talking about all this. You know, just quick before I got to let you go, you know, the independent music world is it's certainly starting to get a little bit more noticed. You know, mostly obviously because of social media and the internet and all that sort of stuff. What would you say is been your most success as far as promoting yourself? Like what tool, or is there a piece of advice you could give some other independent up and comings? Because you obviously have success behind you. I hate to say what's your secret, but what's a big tip you could throw out there?
Well, I think patience and determination is number one. You have to be very, very patient in this business, and if you're not, you'll burn the candle at both ends, as they say. So you have to be very, very patient. Some things you have to be, you have to wait. You have to wait for responses. You have to persevere. You have to make yourself available, I think, is one of the most important things, because too many people want to be mystical and mystique, and nobody can, you know. And I think that those days are over. I think you have to be available, and people have to be able to contact you and talk to you. So I think having a website is really important. Other than a Facebook page or this or that, I think you should have a .com where people can go and check, because people do still check on those things. You know?
Absolutely, I agree.
And I think that's very, very important. Be available, book shows, play out live. And I don't believe a record label is as important as it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago even. You can have home recording gear now for less than $1,000, where you can put out an album that sounds really good.
Yeah.
You know, get yourself out there into distribution. You got iTunes, you got all these other things. You can get your CD out there. You have to promote yourself. You have to be a kind person too, I believe too, because people don't want to deal with jerks. So,
true enough.
I know it sounds crazy, but you know, I think that you should have a kind heart. Even you know, it's one of those things. I think that you can't force yourself to do that. You kind of have to have that within you first, and people notice that. When people can approach you, more opportunities come, and when more opportunities come, greater things happen.
That's great advice. Thanks for sharing that, Tony, and thanks for sharing your story. And we're going to direct people now to check out some of your music. And folks, on the screen right now, you see some annotations. Click on those. Check out Tony and his music. And Tony, thank you so much again. We'll be sure to get following you on Twitter and all that stuff. And please get in touch with us anytime that you want to let us know what's going on.
David, thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Tony Smotherman, once again, here on the show, and we're very, very pleased to have him here. Great success story there. Once again, take the time right now to click and check out some of the music from Tony Smotherman right here on the show.